Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who often thinks that his framed picture of James Cosmo is following him around the room after too much electric soup. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
That's because it is.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, you've got it so his eyes follow you. You're nearly converted to Cosmo.
Yeah, I'm good. As we were discussing before the podcast, I'm just back from my adventure in Asia. Southeast Asia, because I live in Asia, obviously, because the UAE is in Asia, which I had to remind somebody of when he welcomed me to Asia. And I was like, I live in Asia already. And then I thought, why? That's just a cunty thing to say. The guy's just welcoming you to Asia. You know what I mean? There's no need for that. I made up for it over the rest of the week by being over nice and accommodating. But no, it was good. It was good. A good trip.
Good. So yeah, had fun in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, yeah, I did. Although I did. Every time somebody asked me what I was there for, I had to resist the urge to say, I'm here to fight in the Kumite, like in Bloodsport. Just because basically all my references are fucking 80s or early to mid-90s, basically, these days, it's just the age I am. But no, I had a good time. I had some nice food. It's funny, actually, we were just talking about food before we started recording, and you mentioned that you're trying a period of time off gluten, and like we ate really locally every night, and like quite a lot to eat on some occasions, and I didn't feel like bloated once. I felt full, like my appetite was appeased, but I didn't feel that sort of bloated way, you know what I mean, that you sometimes get on should we say, perhaps a more Western diet. So yeah, it was nice. I tried, in Thailand, I got to try bee larvae for the first time.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was okay. A texture not dissimilar to sweet corn. I thought it might taste of honey, but it doesn't.
No.
It was okay. I'm glad I tried it. I don't know if I'd go for it again. And I tried sea snail by accident, but I thought it was beef, and I just dived right in with my chopsticks. And when I was sort of chewing it, thinking, I wonder what part of the cow this is. Somebody told me it was sea snail. It was okay. It didn't taste fishy. It did taste more like a red meat than a fish. But again, it's all part of the journey, trying these new and disgusting things. And
did you go back for another piece once you knew what it was?
No.
Oh, okay. So it was nice, but not that nice once you knew what it was.
It was okay. It was fine. I think if I just never known what it was, I would probably been all right. But, you have that sort of North Atlantic kind of prudishness, which even though I've lived abroad for 10 years, still very much lurks in my psyche. Just wouldn't let me sort of say, well, everyone else is eating it, it must be fine. Just kept telling me, you're eating sea snail, you fucking manky cunt. But it was nice. We went to a nice restaurant called Yardbird, and say the Southeast Asians eat pretty much every part of a chicken. And the thyroid had sold out before we sat down. So had the gizzard, which I wasn't too upset about, because no doubt that would have been put in front of me, and no doubt I would have had to have tried it, because I would have been because my self-esteem is so low that I care what strangers think about me, and I couldn't bear the fact that somebody might think, fucking typical British Scottish guy, won't even try anything new. Pretty much, it's driven every choice I've made pretty much my whole life, usually to my detriment.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, yes, we're all about trying new things, but yeah, I think I would draw the line at stuff like that. I don't know what it is. But then I've always remembered last year I was speaking to a Dutch guy. We were out for dinner, and he was saying how he eats everything and regaling stuff that he's had, like bull's testicle and monkey brains and sea snails and all this stuff. And then he turned to me and he went, "Have you ever had haggis?"
Oh yeah.
And I went, "Yeah." And he screwed up his face and went, "Oh really? Do you know what's in it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." But yeah, he was kind of horrified by this. And I was like, wait a minute, you're just telling me you've eaten monkey brains, and you're saying...
It's better than bull's bollocks,
Yeah,
surely.
Exactly. So I don't know why that's deemed to be kind of unacceptable, but never mind. Who knows?
I did get in a bit of a conversation about haggis with my colleague there, who's a very adventurous eater himself, and he said, I've never tried haggis, because he's never been to Scotland. He's American. He was born in the Philippines, but raised in America. So to all intents and purposes, he's American, but he has a very Asian diet, which means that he'll try anything.
Yeah.
And he said, I've never had the chance to try haggis because he's never been to Scotland. And I said, if I might be able to get one the next time I'm at home that I can keep in the freezer. I'll bring it back from Scotland, I'll keep it in the freezer, and when you come to Dubai, you can taste it. And he was very pleased at the prospect of that. I also told him I would pick up some square sausage because he's intrigued by square sausage as well. I told him it gives you heartburn, but I said, I guess I need Nicky heartburn.
Did you really?
Well, I think it's because every time we mention square sausage in the podcast, one of us always remarks how it gives you heartburn, because we've had a few square sausage related stories on the news, haven't we, over the years?
We certainly have, and yes, it does give me heartburn. Although I haven't had it for many, many years, but I imagine it probably still does give me heartburn. Wonderful. Well, that's your little culinary adventure around the world. Fantastic. Well, Speaking of news, shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks whilst you've been away in Hong Kong?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, what have you seen in the news over the last couple of weeks you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, before I get on to my first story, so long-term listeners will remember that you and I had a lot of fun with a story about a convicted American sex offender called, well, his real name wasn't Michael Rossi, his real name was something else. He was calling himself something else. Maybe Michael Rossi was his real name, and he was in Sutton prison, and he was being kept awake after the news broke that he was being deported to America to face trial for his crimes. All the other prisoners were singing at night, "Leaving on a Jet Plane" by John Denver, just to roast them. And so, because we enjoyed the plight of that sex offender, I thought our listeners might enjoy some bad luck befalling another sex offender. This one is Scottish. His name's James Clacker. I won't go into details about his crimes because they're pretty unpleasant, but he basically attempted to fake his own death and he fled to Spain. And the Scottish Sun has got a wonderful video of him being caught up with by the Spanish police, right? But the funny thing about it is when the police catch up with him, he's hanging upside down on a beach gym in Spain. He was working out on a Spanish beach, and it says, let me get to it. He was described as hanging upside down on gym equipment on a beach before being hauled back to Scotland. Now, that sentence by itself is hilarious, right? But the fact that there is video evidence supporting it, he's just minding his own business, hanging upside down, thinks that he's got away with these horrendous crimes. The Spanish police are waiting. They arrest him when they grab him when he's fucking hanging upside down.
Perfect moment to get him. Absolutely perfect.
Anyway, but from one horrible, disgusting fucking sex case criminal to another criminal whose crimes do not include sexual offences, you'll be glad to know. This comes from the Daily Record, this first story, on the 6th of September. The headline is, Dine and Dash scammer outed as 1 million Ant and Dec game show winner. So the man accused of a double Dine and Dash scam can be revealed as a former millionaire who scooped the jackpot on an Ant and Dec game show. Nathan Hagman, I think, I'm not sure, Hageman, won 1 million on the comedy duo's ITV show Red and Black in 2011, but he squandered his fortune on cars, holidays, gadgets, and watches. He's from Reading. He now has 16 convictions for 45 offences. Last year he was sentenced to 12 weeks in prison after he stole from a nurse when she was working in hospital. He swept her handbag from her locker and then used her car keys to steal her vehicle. And after being released from prison in England, he headed north to Scotland. It's understood that he settled in Bathgate in West Lothian before flitting through to Kilmarnock, and he's now at the centre of a double Dine and Dash scam after a man and woman were outed on social media as having fled different restaurants in the Ayrshire town without paying. On Wednesday last week, the man and woman in question ran up nearly £50 at Beijing Banquet in the town's Queen Drive and left without paying. The following day, the same pair pulled the same scam again, racking up a £125 bill at the 43 Mexican Tex-Mex and Steakhouse in the East Ayrshire town's Titchfield Street. Pictures of the pair taken from CCTV cameras in the restaurants in question were posted on social media, and the police were contacted over the ruse. A source told the Daily Record that the guy in the CCTV is Nathan Hayman, or Hajman, however you say it. He's gone from millionaire to Dine and Dash scammer. It doesn't get much lower. I think it does if you remember the story that we spoke about just a minute ago. He's smart enough to win a game show, but dumb enough to get caught on camera. He's only been living in Kilmarnock for about a week. He's moved through from Bathgate. Police Scotland confirmed that officers are now investigating both incidents, which took place on the 27th and the 28th of August. Just the Police Scotland quote there. Yeah, so that's Nathan Hajman. Bit of a shithouse, I think it's fair to say. There's a picture of him on the TV show with Ant and Dec, who probably deserve a bit of a conversation as well, because they have to be the two most unusual people. I mean, Ant McPartin, is it? He has to be one of the weirdest fucking guys on the TV. But, and he's quite clean cut. He's obviously looks very blown away by the fact that he's just won £1 million.
Wow.
His mugshot, he looks a bit like shit Jesus. His mugshot, to be honest. Yeah, these eyes don't follow you about wherever you go from the picture, but maybe he would.
There's been a real spate, or it just seems to be a thing that's in the papers all the time now, Dine and Dash. And
yeah,
I mean, it's always been, you've worked in restaurants, for a lot of your life. I mean, is it a regular thing that people walk out without paying? Because it seems to be there's a story in the newspaper just about every week of couples dining and dashing.
When I was on the tools, so to speak, working in the restaurants, it did happen once or twice, not that often. I remember we had a couple in at the beach in Aberdeen who should never have been served in the first place. Like, they came in on like a sort of mid-afternoon on the Friday, and they attempted to leave without paying and were restrained by a couple of the waiters while the manager went to call the police, and the guy just started throwing money onto the table when the manager went to call the police. And they literally, like, he didn't complain and try to justify, I'm not paying because this was shite or anything like that. They were just trying to run away. And we had to sort of stop them. I think our old mutual friend's ex-wife, Julie, I think, was the manager who went to call the police. The woman attempted to assault the general manager, who was another lady called Fiona.
Wow.
It was that's probably the worst one that I can remember. When I ran a restaurant in Glasgow Fort, which is next to Easter House, we did have one or two people try and leave without paying, and when we stopped them, they just paid. They just chancing their arm. You know what I mean? Because the thing was, there was a lot of security guards, because it's a shopping centre, Glasgow Fort, like an outdoor shopping centre. So there's always security nearby, and we had a radio for security as well. So yeah, they never gave us any bother. Although somebody did get stabbed at the ar in that restaurant in an unrelated incident.
Yeah, it wasn't a Dine and Dash incident. Okay.
No, it wasn't. But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. They could just if the newspapers are to be believed, it just seems like the UK, or at least Scotland and England, it's just fucking lost. Everyone's lost their fucking collective minds, and this is the sort of behaviour you get now. It's bizarre. Constantly
seeing stuff like that, and then shoplifters and stuff. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, it just seems to be a total epidemic of these Dine and Dash. So this hero, this Jesus character, has so won a lot of money on Ant and Dec, and then now he's resorting to running off without paying. Spunked a lot. I mean, on gadgets. What kind of gadgets do you think he's been buying for that money?
I mean, don't know. I guess £1 million maybe isn't what it was like 20 years ago, right?
Well, no, of course not.
You can... I know, but it's still an awful lot of money. Like, I think if I had £1 million just given to me now, tax-free, say, I could probably, like, set myself up for the rest of my life, I think, with £1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it could, if you were sensible with it could go far, but obviously this gentleman wasn't sensible and spent the money on cars and gadgets and stuff, and, but you probably would. Gadgets could cover anything from, overhead projectors and stuff to...
Like a Roomba.
Stuff, like that, and probably the latest, smartphones and tablets and all the stuff, VR headsets, all the stuff that you don't need, but you just think, oh, I want that, so I'll buy that. And the money easily goes. But, well, is this Ant and Dec's fault, do you think? I mean, should we get on to Ant and Dec then and talk about them?
I mean, the thing I find strange about Ant and Dec, because obviously I'm of an age, I don't know if this is obvious, if you listen to the podcast, hopefully it's obvious, where Ant and Dec have been on the TV since the early 90s on Biker Grove, right, when they played PJ and Duncan. Yeah. And then they were pop stars as PJ and Duncan before they go into their actual names and being pop stars for a bit longer. For most of their career, they've been television presenters. But the thing is, right, the dynamic is still quite juvenile, right? Do you know what I mean? It's not like their dynamic hasn't matured with them. Like, my daughter and I, for the first time ever in my life, and hers, we did a full series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. That we watched the whole last series. And we both really enjoyed it. But their links, I was just fucking willing them to be finished. Because the jokes are fucking rubbish. I mean, they're fucking rubbish. That's not funny. Yeah, but then... You'd have to be, like, fucking knocked in the head to find them funny.
Yeah, but then it probably appeals to the type of people that are watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Out of Here. No offence to you and your daughter, but it is a show that does appeal to probably the lowest common denominator. So it's hardly surprising that their jokes are juvenile and are meant for that. I was interested. Apparently, is it STV Player have uploaded every episode of Biker Grove? They've got the rights to it somehow. Yeah. So if you go on STV Player, you will find every episode of Biker Grove. And I was reading a thread, I think it was on Reddit, of people that were rewatching it. I'm not going to rewatch it, but I was just interested. And people were saying it was interesting because, like, PJ and Duncan weren't actually that friendly in Biker Grove, apparently. They'd never really hang out that much, but then somehow they got together very much towards the end and then, launched their pop career and stuff. But yeah, I was like, oh, wow, I always thought it was, PJ and Duncan were thick as thieves, but obviously not.
But I seem to remember a scene when PJ was coming to terms with the fact that I can't see after getting sprayed in the eyes with a paintball, or shot in the eye with a paintball gun or something like that. I remember a scene where he's in the youth club and Duncan can't quite deal with him, and PJ's like tripping over chairs and fucking walking into things and stuff and saying, Duncan, where are you, man? And Duncan just, I don't know if the intention was, Duncan's racked with guilt because his friend, I can't really remember. I do remember PJ getting shot in the eyes. Yeah. It's a highlight of my childhood, to be honest. But if I'm being honest, I don't remember in great detail Biker Grove, apart from maybe the first series with Spuggy and that this kind of posh girl who joins the youth club and ends up going out with the fucking sort of bad kid who wears a leather jacket and has his hair thingied up and stuff. Sort of, he's... Do
you have a ponytail as well? Like a leather jacket and a ponytail, or was that someone else?
That was later on. I think he was supposed to be... I don't know if he was supposed to be Spuggy's brother or something, but maybe not. But he had you knew he was a bad boy because he wore like jeans, Doc Martens, a leather jacket, and he had his hair sort of quiffed up, and he kind of walked about with his hands in his pockets. And in hindsight, not sure why he was at the youth club, to be honest.
Nonce.
Yeah. I think Jeff was the one to watch.
No, he wasn't. Jeff was a legend. He never touched those kids. It's funny you say that because something that has stuck with me since my childhood, and I still remember vividly, I could remember exactly where I was when I saw it, and it's still horrific, and it gives me a shiver, was an episode of Casualty, and it was a guy that was making screwdrivers, and he was basically taking the metal part, putting it in a machine, the machine would close, shoot out the plastic to form the handle, and then open, you would take it out. And he was working overtime, he was tired, and he was just doing this monotonous task. Yeah. And then he forgot to put the metal bit in one part, and it showed, and it shot like the hot liquid into his eyes. And horrific, still haunts me. But yet, the scene where PJ gets shot in the face with a paintball is fucking hilarious.
Laughing at.
Just, hilarious. Same thing, basically. But, brilliant. Anyway, this Dine and Dash Robin bastard, and it's all Ant and Dec's fault.
All Ant and Dec's fault for giving him the money in the first place. We'd never have heard of him otherwise. Anyway, that's my first story this week. Apologies to any Ant and Dec fans who might be listening. They're all entitled to their opinions. You like them, we don't. Anyway, then moving on quickly. What's your first story this week?
My first story comes from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and it is a tale of revenge. Never piss off a woman. That's what I would say on this. From the Scottish Sun this week, a holidaymaker's dream trip to Thailand turned into a nightmare when his spiteful former partner cancelled his passport. The vacation of a lifetime ended before it began when William Barr, that's a good Scottish name, was detained at the airport as soon as he arrived in the holiday hotspot. His ex-partner, Rosie Wood, had been pissed off that he was jetting off to the sun and went online to void his travel document. So she did this whilst he was in the air. So Wood, 31, of Inverkeithing, Fife, admitted that on the 16th of October last year, for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience and needless anxiety to William at Dunfermline Sheriff Court. The court heard that she falsely reported his passport as lost or stolen via the online application system. This caused him to be detained by the immigration services in Thailand and deported back to the UK. That's one place you don't want to be detained, I would say.
Yes.
Deputy Fiscal Matthew Knapp said Mr. Barr had gone to the country for a 2-week holiday, but on arriving at the airport there, he was told that his passport had been marked as stolen. He denied this was the case, but was deported back to the UK. On his return, he contacted the police, asking them to investigate the matter. These inquiries uncovered that Wood's broadband account had been used to void the passport online, and that she was the victim's former partner. She attended Dunfermline Police Station for interview and confessed what she had done to the officers. She said it was because he'd left her kids and she was pissed off. She told police she realised that it had been silly, but once she'd done it, there was nothing she could do to reverse it. Mr. Barr told the police that on arriving at the airport, he went to the security grate and it all went crazy from there. He said that he thought he was about £2,500 out of pocket through the loss of the holiday. Defence solicitor Shona Westwood said that her client was deeply regretful and very ashamed of her actions. She added, she's not in the best financial position. Sheriff Mark O'Hanlon told Wood, this is a serious matter, with your ex-partner losing his entire holiday. So, he's lost his £2,500 holiday. The judge decided to fine the woman £500.
God,
that is a stinger. Whoa.
It's a means-tested fine, obviously.
And so do not piss off your ex. Now, first of all, obviously, this just shows that, your passport, you could easily just go online and cancel it if you have all the information, I guess. So, that's a very vindictive thing to do.
Scary that somebody could do that. You know what I mean? I suppose at least it wasn't out the country when she did it. Right, he hadn't left the country, right? He was stopped at... He must have left the country.
He'd left the country,
stopped in Thailand.
Yeah.
Of course, because they don't check your passport leaving the UK anymore.
No, so she must have cancelled it. Yeah, I don't know if she cancelled it prior or when she'd done it, if it was when he was in the air or who knows. But yeah, she cancelled his passport and that was a bit of a shitter for the poor lad. Arriving in Bangkok, being told his passport it was on a stolen passport. That's got to be horrifying, that to happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I've had some moments at immigration in countries where, I think it's just been the person on the desk who's just, because they never seem that cheerful, do they?
No.
The only ones who I've met who are cheerful, actually, The ones in Thailand last week were quite friendly, and the ones in Hong Kong, but everywhere else you go, especially America, they are fucking miserable bastards. And the thought of sort of getting taken at one side when you arrive, it's almost as bad as being taken at one side when you're trying to leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're just wanting to get home. But yeah, that'd be just horrific. Arriving there, thinking you've been looking forward to it for ages, on the flight, and then get there thinking, right, 2 weeks, I'm going to get some ladyboy action, see a ping pong show, get some drugs, and then bang, before you can even set foot on Thai soil, you are put in a little holding room and then shipped off back to Scotland.
I don't think he would have made a healthy contribution to the Thai lifestyle and economy anyway, to be quite honest. No, I don't think so.
No.
I think Thailand probably had a lucky miss.
You think they're better off without him? Do you think that's why the judge only fined her £500? Because the Thai people had said, yeah, no, we didn't want him there anyway.
Yeah, the Thai people maybe had a word and said that we get enough of these fucking Scottish sex tourists coming over and making a nuisance of themselves. Let's send them back.
So there you go, folks. Be careful what you do with your passport details and don't give them to anyone, and especially an ex that you might have pissed off. Not a good idea.
Yeah, always aim for an amicable separation if you can.
Yes, that's the advice of the Culture Swally.
Yeah, that's good advice, I think.
Yeah, good advice.
Good advice.
Anyway, what else have you seen this week, mate?
So this is a nicer story. This comes from the Daily Record on the 7th of September, which was yesterday on the day of recording. The headline reads, Great Scots shoppers amused as iconic Back to the Future DeLorean rolls into town. Did you like what they did there?
I did, I do.
That's good, yeah. You're a big Back to the Future fan.
Yeah.
So great Scots shoppers felt as though they'd taken a step back in time after spotting Hollywood history in the DeLorean from Back to the Future rolling through their streets. Locals in Alness were left stunned as the stainless steel star fitted with gull-wing doors from the 1985 blockbuster and its sequels drove through their high street yesterday. The time travel trilogy followed Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, and Doc Brown, portrayed by Christopher Lloyd, as they travelled through time in a souped-up DeLorean, all while trying to get home without wrecking the space-time continuum. Not sure that's exactly an accurate synopsis, but we'll take it. The car's arrival in Rossshire wasn't the result of a mishap on the flux capacitor though, but rather brought to celebrate the opening of a brand new shop dedicated to gaming, comics and action figures, TT Retro. Following the grand opening, the owner, Thomas Forbes, wrote, "First day done. A massive thank you to everyone who popped in and supported the new shop, and to all who wished us good luck on the new venture. We have had loads of great feedback and we're really happy with today's outcome. A massive thank you as well to Scran Alness for the cracking suppers, and Ian, who came along with the famous DeLorean. Just an amazing thing to see, really topped off the day for me. As Doc Brown famously said, roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. However, for Alness, all roads lead to TT Retro this weekend, as hundreds gathered at the shop to snap a picture with the iconic car, driven straight out of the silver screen. Residents could be seen taking a peek at the car's flux capacitor and whipping out their phones faster than the DeLorean hitting 88 miles per hour in order to get a pic of the movie motor. Social media users were also left bewildered by the car's appearance in the town and took to the comments of the post published by Loose in the Highlands. Paul Patience quipped, "Well, it does feel like you've gone back in time when you drive through Alness." Another ribbed, "Geez, imagine going back to the future and landing in Alness." And Joanne Murphy said, "I'll take that taxi. I will definitely arrive on time." That was a bit wafty, that last one. Ian Robert added, "If I had one of those, I'd probably only drive it from time to time." Well, thank you for your fucking contribution there, Ian Robert. And Lorna Horlock wrote, "Can it take me to a time where I could afford a house and a car for £3,000? Preferably a 3-bed bungalow with 2 reception rooms, a conservatory, a tidy garden, a shed/garage and a greenhouse, maybe a swimming pool." So yeah, there's always be some fucking moaning cunt on the... Yeah. Just a nice post about, I'm sure it's not often that the small town in Alness has something like that going on. Got to find some misery in it somewhere. But yeah, that'd be quite cool. I don't know. I'm never up in Rossshire. It's not a place I've spent a great deal of time. No. If any time, in fact. But we wish TT Retro all the best. It sounds like it's quite a cool shop up our street with the action figure stuff. But not if it's modern action figures. But if it's got any vintage stuff in there, maybe have a wee look online.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it sounds like a cracking little place. And it's always nice when you have something like that with something that garners attention. And yeah, usually something like the Back to the Future car is the one that kind of does it. Or, the Batmobile or something. It's always a good thing. What was your favourite kind of car from the art era?
Probably Kit from Knight Rider when I was younger.
Yeah.
I did like the Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit as well, though. I like that a lot. So it's probably between because I used to have Smokey and the Bandit 2 on video, like taped off the telly, and it's the one when there's the big sort of battle at the end between Snowman and all these truck driving pals and all the different police forces from, like the Canadian police are there, and Jackie Gleason plays a few different characters. And it's so stupid to think about it now, but for some reason all these trucks had like things in their wagons that could like mash police cars or like fire them through the air or whatever. Pretty ridiculous, but I fucking loved it when I was a kid. I absolutely loved just that last sort of 20 minutes of Smoking the Bandit 2.
Fantastic.
What about you? What was your fave?
Oh, it's got to be the A-Team van, without a doubt.
Yeah,
the A-Team van. I mean, Kit, yes, definitely, from Knight Rider. I think they're doing a new reboot of Knight Rider. I read that they're
me too.
doing. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. But, yeah, I loved Kit. But, yeah, I think the A-Team van, probably. Although
it's not like a Knight Rider A-Team combined universe type reboot or something. Is Knight Rider combined with something else?
Okay.
Might not be the A-Team, but another show that was on at the same time. I know it's not Street Hawk. That would make sense.
Yeah.
It's not Street Hawk.
Yeah, that would make perfect sense. Oh, I wonder. I'll have to have a look and see. But yeah, I loved the A-Team van. I'm a simple love. I've always loved them. If I had a car from any kind of 80s thing, I'd take the police car from the Blues Brothers. I fucking love those style of police cars. They're so fucking cool.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what Dan Aykroyd's character says when John Belushi's giving him a hard time for picking him up in a police car from prison, but he starts listing all the car's attributes, like how fast it'll go, how solid it is, and all that kind of thing. On the subject of the A-Team, I came across... So, Mr. T's daughter is a stand-up comedian. Have you seen this? We've seen her talking about WrestleMania.
No, I think so.
So she's got a little routine that she does about being taken. She talks about how at the school she went to at the time, growing up in the 80s, nobody believed that her dad was Mr. T and stuff. And she said that she remembers getting taken to WrestleMania. I guess it'd been WrestleMania 2, I think, isn't it? When they, with the Hulk Hogan and Mr. T up against Roddy Piper and Paul Ordinal, is it? Who's
I think so. Yeah, Paul Ordinal. Yeah.
And apparently, her younger sister was worried about if her dad was going to be okay. And Mr. T explained, look, be all right. It's all scripted, and everyone's very careful. No one's really being hurt. It just looks like we're being hurt and stuff. So as soon as the match starts, like Roddy Piper picks Mr. T up and fucking slams him on the mat. And it accidentally Mr. T got cracked ribs. So after the fight, he had to go to the hospital. And she said her and her sister were in a hotel room with Hulk Hogan, who's doing line after line of Ching, right in the hotel room. And Mr. T comes back with his ribs all strapped up, and Hulk Hogan's like, that's out of order. What Roddy Piper did to you, that's out of order. I'm going to fuck him up. That's out of order. And Mr. T's like, just an accident or whatever. And then Piper comes to the door to apologise because of he's heard that he's accidentally cracked Mr. T's ribs. And Hulk Hogan goes for him and starts throwing him about in the hotel room because he's all high on cocaine. And Mr. T's trying to sort of separate them and stuff. And she said, when I was back at school on Monday and we're doing what did we do at the weekend? I'm just like, not a damn fucking thing. It's just... she obviously tells it a lot better. If I find it again, I'll send you it. But
cool.
She's like, I'm going to tell you a story about WrestleMania. Don't tell anybody. So she's on stage. She was funny.
Oh, very good. Oh, lovely. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear. I hope the shop is a wonderful success. And that's brilliant that they got a good bit of press coverage as well with the DeLorean and coverage on the Culture Swally as well.
Exactly, which is arguably the best coverage there is.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my last story this week. What have you got next?
My second and last story this week, Greg, is from Glasgow Live. And the headline is, Scotsman visits supermarket in Peru and discovers unusual link to home. So a Scottish man who jetted off to Peru has shared his astonishment after discovering a fizzy drink that brought back memories from home. Craig Ferguson, not that one, who chronicles his global adventures on social media, disclosed that the beverage is exclusively available in just one city within the South American nation, which he says may be purely to spite everyone else. Posting on TikTok, that's a good Scottish thing, isn't it? Spite. Posting on TikTok as part of his Scotland Around the World series, Craig kicked off by detailing his mission to uncover the special drink that links Peru to Scotland. And it wasn't long before he managed to get hold of a bottle as he expressed his joy at finding Cola Escocia among the numerous other drinks for sale. Despite the name literally translating as Scottish cola, this is actually a Peruvian drink, Craig explained. It is made solely in Peru, and particularly in Jura. He proceeded to unveil a couple of reasons behind its peculiar origins. Jura in Peru is a distinct area with independent values, Craig continued. And despite no mainstream push for independence at the moment, they often joke about things like Jura is not Peru. Craig's clip cut to footage of a march in Scotland in which people were demonstrating in favour of their wish for independence from the United Kingdom. It reminds me of other places in the world, he quipped. He went on to say, as you may know, Inca Cola is the most popular soft drink in Peru. However, Cola Inglesia is also available in other places in Peru, leading some to believe that Jura's Cola Escocia is made out of spite. Because Cola Inglesia translates to English cola, perhaps prompting a Scottish version to be created as some kind of rival. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea, Craig admitted in conclusion, but that's what I've been told, and I like it, so I'm going to run with it. But what does it actually taste like? Yeah, it's quite nice. Bonus points for it being Scottish, he revealed. Responding to the video, one TikToker user who has sampled the beverage comment, it tastes a bit like Bar's Red Cola. I remember seeing delicious. It in a corner shop, and I never bought something so fast in my life. Another person joked, how very Scottish, doing anything to spite the English. A third agreed, penning, to be fair, calling it Scottish Cola is just to spite English Cola is a pretty Scottish thing to do. A fourth TikToker commented, if I remember correctly, wasn't it a Scottish man that helped Peru get independence from Spain? And indeed it was. According to Historic UK, Thomas Cochrane, who was born in Ansfield, South Lanarkshire in 1775, relocated to South America where he assumed command of the Chilean Navy and guided them towards independence from Spain. He also commandeered the Chilean fleet to help secure independence for Peru as well. So there you go. That's another thing we've done for the world, Greg.
Yeah,
another thing.
I know. Just add it to the huge list.
So yeah, Cola Escocia is, if you're ever in that area of Peru, in Jura, then you can sample the delights, but don't you dare purchase a bottle of Cola Inglesia.
I suppose it's a wee bit like Catalonia, right, in Spain, and the kind of Basque French. You know, you have the kind of Basque separatists who, I think, would they rather be part of Spain than France? Is that their thing? I can't remember. And obviously, the Catalonia is essentially Barcelona, right? And yeah, and like Scotland and Wales.
Exactly.
and half of Northern Ireland.
Yeah, exactly. So it's nice to have a little thing in Peru that reminds us of Scotland and our battle. But yeah, that's great. Just naming something just to spite. Yeah, it is a very Scottish thing to do, isn't it?
It certainly is, and I've got a lot of time for it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Wonderful. Right. Well, before I'm going on. Anything else this week, Greg?
No. That's all the news I've got.
Wonderful. Right. Well, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, and a lot more spite, let's have a little word from our sponsors.
So what if a man drills for oil and does it all on his jack?
I'm just popping down to the ocean bed, and then I'm coming back.
No, when it comes to lubrication, you have to do something more. It's the man who comes up with tartan special. That's who I'm rooting for.
Support your local hero and his younger's tartan special.
Okay, Greg, so it was your choice of what we're going to be talking about on the Culture Swally today. So why don't you tell us what we've been watching this week?
So last week, or the last episode I should say, we, for the first time in a while, we did a Play for Today. We did the silly season, and I so enjoyed doing it. Like, normally I wouldn't pick another Play for Today so soon after doing one, but I did, because it's one that we haven't done. I think this will be the last Peter McDougall Play for Today that we haven't covered, so I don't think he wrote any other ones. Ironically, this is his first one from 1972, and it's Just Your Luck, directed by Four Weddings and a Funeral director Mike Newell, which obviously in an early outing, starring like a veritable smorgasbord of Scottish talent: David Hayman, Leslie Mackie, Gerry Slevin, Eileen McCallum, Mary Riggans, even Brian Pettifer gets a gets a few minutes on there. And it tells the story of 17-year-old Alison, who, after falling pregnant to 23-year-old Alec after a one-night stand, a wedding has to be hastily arranged. Unfortunately, Alison comes from a staunch Church of Scotland family, otherwise known as Protestants, and Alec comes from a staunch Roman Catholic family. And the play tells how both families kind of come to terms with their children being shackled together. So it's available on YouTube. If you've not watched it already and you want to watch it before you hear us talking about it, now would be the time to stop. It's only an hour. Won't take you too long to get through it. Had you come across this one before?
It was my first time watching. Obviously, I was aware of it, and I knew it was out. In fact, I'd already downloaded it from YouTube and had it on my kind of laptop ready, because I knew we were going to pick it at some point soon, because we've done all the other McDougalls. Incidentally, I was checking. This is our 7th Peter McDougall penned item that we've covered on the pod. So we did all 4 Play for Today's now: Just Your Luck, Just a Boy's Game, Elephant Graveyard, and Just Another Saturday. We've also done A Sense of Freedom, Shoot for the Sun, and Down Among the Big Boys. I think kind of the last one really we need to do is Down Where the Buffalo Go, which is a play on one with Harvey Keitel, but it's very difficult to find. But I will find it. So first time watching, but I was aware of what it was. But for some reason, I just never got round to it. And of course, I loved it. It's wonderful. It's so funny. Like, in parts, I was just in hysterics. It's raw and it doesn't hold back. In some parts, and it's just this wonderfully like tight snapshot of like early 70s Glasgow, and it ticks all the Peter McDougall boxes, like sectarianism, working class culture, gallows humour, a little bit of violence. It's wonderful. And I mean, summed up, it basically is, in Glasgow in the 70s, a proddy girl dumps her footballer boyfriend and gets knocked up by the first man she sees, who happens to be a Catholic sailor.
So you're getting ahead of the Archetypal Scottish Moment Award later on.
I mean, even now it's a sensitive subject matter, and from 1972 it was really sensitive and really controversial. And I did read that there was a lot of complaints to the BBC when this aired. Yeah,
I mean, ironically, Peter McDougall's first submission to the BBC was Just Another Saturday, which they initially turned down because they were worried about how it would land, particularly in Scotland. So this was his second submission, and obviously it deals with a lot of the same kind of broad themes. I think Just Another Saturday kind of intellectualises the divide between Catholics and Protestants in perhaps a more clever way, I think, than this one. But, the thing about Just Your Luck is, like, I sometimes wonder, and I've watched it a few times before, So I've seen it a few times over the years, and I've sometimes wondered, is it supposed to be almost, is he going for gritty realism? Or is he taking something that was definitely a very sensitive issue in Scotland in the 1970s and sort of ballooning elements of it? Because a lot of it, like the character of Isabel, played by Eileen McCallum, she's almost like a sort of caricature of that type of woman. And now, Eileen McCallum is a fantastic actress, and we've seen her, we've had her in a lot of different things, Like, I think the last thing we had her in was when we did the first series of Still Game, and she was the one with the diddies. Boobra, yeah. So she's, obviously an actor with like a great range who's got a real ear for sort of the kind of Scottish vernacular, particularly working class Scottish vernacular, which she kind of shows to great effect in Just Another Saturday, but it's sort of like a more muted version of Isabel, the mum in Just Another Saturday, I think, and maybe a more sensitive kind of portrayal than this one. But there's so many. What's what I'm looking for? There's so many sort of stereotypes in this. There's the pious Catholic mum played by Eileen McCallum. There's the sort of shiftless, sort of work-shy, lazy dad, played by Joe Joseph, and then you've got Mary Riggans, who plays Alison's mum on the kind of the Protestant side of the divide, and so she's kind of a bit of a version of the mother character she played in the Silly Season to some extent as well, like, prone to a bit of unexpected emotion. And then Colin, played by Gerry Slevin, who's sort of like a sort of stereotypical kind of staunch Church of Scotland, goes to his work, feeds his pigeons, will give his wife a wee slap just to sort of calm her down.
Wears his ranger scarf.
He comes up the close stairs sort of singing, comes in a good mood. But he can't really chastise his oldest daughter because she, in his mind, she's daddy's little girl, And I never knew my mother's father because he had multiple sclerosis and was fucked all my life, as Frankie Boyle would put it. You know what I mean? He was both a poor soul and no right, and he was fucked. So I never knew him what he was like before that. But my mother described what I do know about him. Apparently he wasn't the fucking nicest of guys to my granny, but my mother said that he was always very doting over her and my auntie. You know what I mean? So maybe Colin is typical of men of that generation at that time. I don't know, it's before I was born. But it just seems a lot like that, and there's that wee exchange that Brian Pettifer's in with the two boys in the kitchen, the bedroom rather, when they're talking about Protestants voting Tory and Catholics voting Labour. Do you know what I mean? But I feel that Peter McDougall I think in his mind this is something that probably would be particularly Scottish and pretty much not really realised by anybody south of the border. Or maybe even it's a West of Scotland thing and not really considered by people in other parts of Scotland either, but he felt that it was an important thing to portray on the screen, just to show how different but the same really these families are. They're all all the characters are all two sides of the same coin, really, No,
I think you're right. I do think, because it is a very serious subject matter and it's handled well, but you're right. It is handled in a kind of send-up way. It is over the top. Yeah. And I wonder if that was how it kind of got commissioned, really, when he's saying it is, but it's not, because it's not gritty as such. There is a lot of humour in this, and it is kind of strange humour in terms of the things that are being said, in terms of there are little lines here and there, and Mary Riggans comes out with a couple of belters, as does Eileen McCallum as well. We'll come back to them later, but there's a couple of great lines. I do think that one of the things that stood out for me is, like, unlike his other plays here, the central characters, to an extent, are female. In terms of, Alison's really the kind of main character, you would say, but Isa and Betsy, they really are the more of a central character than Joe and Colin, I would say. And, David Hayman as Alec, he's hardly in it, really.
It's hard to get any lines, really, has he? I mean, he spends the whole third act pished.
Yeah. So, or back out to sea and going to the dancing. So
Yeah.
there's not you would say this is very female driven, which is lends a different slant, because the rest of McDougall's work is all about males and from the male perspective, and females hardly appear, if at all, in his other works really that we've covered.
I mean, he does have strong female characters in his other stuff. I mean, like in Elephant's Graveyard, it's a two-hander.
Yeah.
But with John Mitchell and Billy Connolly. But, like Eileen McCallum is a really strong character in Just Another Saturday as the mum. But you're right, she's the only one, apart from that, you see the daughters and stuff, but they don't even have any lines or anything. And then I think Barbara Dixon plays Billy Connolly's wife in Down Among the Big Boys.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's, well, you could maybe say Dancer's wife to some extent in Just a Boys Game, but she's not in it very much. She's only maybe 10, 15 minutes, if that even.
Clatty Bella,
but she just doesn't say anything. Really, just lets Chance Dancer rattle her in the squeakiest bed you ever heard.
But yeah, I did think it is a bit of a different perspective for a Peter McDougall. And I get, he does write strong female characters, but this is very kind of female driven in this.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Because it's not just the mums and Alison, there's also the aunties as well in the scene when Alison's opening her wedding presents.
And you do get the impression that the men are just going along, whatever their wives say, effectively, that they're going to do it. And even the grandfather, who is you would think would be the voice of definitely something there, well, he's mute. He just plays his mouth organ and shits himself, and that's about it, and eats his chips that gets fed to him. So yeah, it's very much kind of female-led. I did love this as well, because it's very, and it obviously could be due to budget, but it really does feel like a play. And I know that sounds stupid, because it is a play for today, but because of the minimum locations, and they're all kind of set in the flat and stuff, it really does give this like claustrophobic sense. And it doesn't need, any exterior. I mean, I think there's like 2 exterior scenes, and that's Alison and Duncan in the beginning, her meeting Alec in the kind of the stairwell, the close, and then of course when they're in the wedding car, like coming up. And that's a great scene as well, because when they come out the wedding car and coming into the house, I mean, that must just be locals from the community, because they really do seem really real, and it is like
earthly.
Yeah, like the kids are feral, and the women are feral as well, and wanting a kiss from the groom, and it really seems like they thought it was an actual wedding, and maybe that's what they were told. It could be, I don't know, for that exterior shot, but it just seems so genuine. Like we've all been, if you think back to the 80s when we were kids, I mean, a wedding was like that in Scotland. The whole neighbourhood would be out. Kids would be waiting for the scramble, but all the mums and grannies and stuff would be out waiting to see the bride. I want to see her dress and stuff. It was excitement when something like that happened. I remember my granny 2 doors down, their daughter getting married, and it was a huge thing. I remember getting like £1 in the scramble and going in.
£1?
Yeah, it was £1.
You grew up in Aberdeen.
And going and buying a couple of, the mini Beano and Dandy comics. Getting a couple of them. I'm very chuffed.
Whose eyes did you have to gouge it to manage to scrape up £1 from a scramble then?
And there wasn't many kids there. It was fine. It was handy. And I was that was in Northfield as well, so it was fucking impressive. Yeah, I could have got chibbed there, definitely.
I remember when my auntie got married and I was a page boy, so I left my gran and granda's house in Kilsyth with her in the bride car, and that was the first time I'd ever seen a scramble. And she's a tight arse. Like, she threw a handful of coppers, but there was kids waiting. You know what I mean? I remember kind of coming out and thinking, just usually all these kids hanging about. I don't know how they. I mean, my great auntie lived up just a few doors up the street, so I don't know. I mean, I guess word just spread that. Yeah, my Auntie Jean was getting married and she'd be coming out at some point, and all the kids were all just waiting there for the scramble. But I mean, it was a surprise to me when Jean just like threw a handful of money to these kids on the street. You know what I mean? I'd never ever seen it before. I remember being quite perplexed by it, and part of me wishing that I was among the kids, like wrestling for the coins.
I fucking loved it. I felt like I was Ur Willie, because there was always Ur Willie always had a scramble in each book. So it was it felt brilliant. I loved it.
You have your Dungan dungarees and your tackety boots on?
No, I didn't. I can't remember what I was wearing. It was a very, very long time ago, but no, I'm not sure about that. Now, so as you said, the whole premise is that Alison gets pregnant. So she's seeing Duncan. She must have been seeing him for a while because he's met the parents. Mum says that he brings a bottle of rum every Friday for the dad. So obviously knows the parents. But I'm going to tread carefully when I say this. But obviously they've been seeing each other for a while, you would think. But they haven't slept together yet because Duncan alludes to that. But then she just goes off and sleeps with Alec straight away. Yeah.
Well, just like that woman with the passport, you know what I mean? Hell hath no fury, mate.
Indeed. So they do say in this, Alison's 16, and there's a bit of the maths isn't quite right, because they say she's only 16 and 6 years younger than Alec, but they say that Alec's 23. So it's 6-7 years, depending on where you kind of land, I guess. But still, at the end of the day, she is pregnant, and it's straight into it. She's crying, and there's no kind of big reveal of like, oh, I'm pregnant. You're kind of wondering, I mean, you know what's happening, but you're kind of wondering what's going on, because she's upset and crying to her mum, and she's like, will you tell my father? Will you tell my father? And, they're still kind of alluding to it, and then revealed that she's pregnant. And lovely lines there in terms of that, she works in a chemist. Did you not get something, like what? And arguments there. But yeah, a fantastic little scene there. And for me, in terms of that scene, like Mary Riggans is just phenomenal. When there's a couple of absolutely great lines when she comes up, when she's worried about telling her father and she says that Duncan's not the father. Who is it? And Alison says, you don't know him. And Bob goes, do you? And but the one for me is when she says about Alec being a sailor. And from then on, she starts saying, like, how long have you known Sinbad? And starts calling him Sinbad. And it's just fucking brilliant.
Oh, God, you mistress.
You might have better luck with him than I did.
Don't you be cracking a funny. It's a big chancer,
He's not a chancer, you don't even know him. His name's Alec Johnson, and he goes to sea.
Oh, my God, a sea. Oh, that's all we need, mistress. What age is he?
He's a nice boy, honest, and he's only 23.
Only? How long have you known Sinbad?
3 months. He's been home on leave this 3 months.
She's going off crying. She goes, oh, go and dry your eyes and say a prayer or something. And it's, absolutely fantastic. But yeah, I just loved just how long have you known Sinbad. Absolutely fantastic there. But yeah, you do get, and you're right, that she is quite similar to her character in the silly season.
She is, she's sort of prone to these little outbursts of emotion, when Alison stood in the close, or she's in the hallway, I think, and she says, there's something else. He's a Catholic. And she goes, oh, Jesus. Like that. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be funny, but it's funny, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's just Mary Riggans getting a wee bit carried away in her performance or what, but yeah, she definitely goes for it. Some of the turns of phrase in this, though, there's so many that are sort of that are just kind of shoehorned in. Eileen McCallum threatens to put somebody in the spin bin at one point, meaning the washing machine, obviously. I think she tells Joe to go and shite in a poke.
Yes.
Or my favourite is when they're in the room with the aunties, Alison and the aunties, and they're sort of appraising the room, and she says how it's quite cold, and one of the aunties says, it's 3 brass monkeys are there looking for a welder. Just a brilliant expression. And the brass monkeys on its own is hilarious. Yeah. But, trust somebody from the west of Scotland just to take a phrase like that and just put a bit of sugar on it,
Well, I had listed, because there's a few, in terms of the religious terms as well, that are used in this. So straight away, Mary Riggans drops one, your daughter's pregnant and he's a left footer. And it's just like, oh, Jesus. And then Colin, Gerry Slevin, at one point, when he's speaking to Alison, he does refer to a good South African grape. And, really enjoyed that as well. I was like, is that a thing? Because he does say about how he'll get on with the family, and he says, I could get along with the backside of a donkey. Oh, maybe that's not appropriate in this. is that meant to mean like the whole religious thing with like Mary and Joseph and the donkey, or
I don't think so. I think he just meant, you know, it wasn't a good expression for the situation. I don't think you're going a bit far there. I'm pretty sure Joseph and Mary going to Bethlehem on the donkeys in the Old Testament is in the fucking Church of Scotland as well. I remember singing Little Donkey at school. We weren't slagging off the Catholic school down the street.
All right, maybe I was stretching there then. The other thing I picked up on though is the word bum is used a lot in this. Like 3 times when Joe says to Alec, "Don't you shout at my father like that, you big bum." And Betsy says to Colin, "Is that all you've got to say, you big bum?" And Alec says to Joe later on, "When I get married, your bum's out the window," which is fair enough. But calling someone a big bum, is that a 70s West of Scotland thing? Or I've never really heard that expression.
I mean, I just assumed it was, you know, like it's what sort of derogatory terms can I get into this? Because you obviously know this is a culture where people spend a lot of their time verbally abusing each other, and probably in reality, much more colourful language than calling somebody a big bum or a waster or whatever, you know. So I always took it as sort of BBC 1970s acceptable swearing. There's like 1 or 2 bastards in this, and there's definitely a bitch. Isabel calls Alison a wee proddy bitch. Something like that. So I just thought, you know, this is just Peter McDougall, you know, what can he get away with in terms of the language, and probably bum. Maybe you only allowed a certain number of bums per broadcasting hour or something like that back in the BBC back then.
Could be that, I guess. Maybe that's why he went with, because there does seem to be a lot of bums.
Oh, I see. You can't answer me, eh? Oh, for Jesus' sake, Granda, shut that bloody thing up. At least play another tune, will you? Don't you shout at my father like that, you big bum. Anyway, you know you can't play another tune.
But yeah, I think the reaction of the parents is very, and it's true, it's exactly as you say, it's trying to show that these families are very similar in a way. And the reaction is very similar as well. They're both kind of horrified that their child is in this situation. And in both situations, it's the mother really that is doing all the talking. But they're trying to work out how to do things and how best to do things. And of course, the Catholic way is, well, you're going to have to get married. And,
in the chapel.
Yeah, in the chapel, of course, and no exception. The Protestant family, there is a talk of getting things sorted and, you know, possibly termination, but that's never really mentioned again or is on the cards. But yeah, it's very much the Catholic way in terms of you've got to get married in the chapel. Now, they do force this because obviously when the 2 sets of parents meet, and that is a wonderful scene, like when Joe and Isa in their finest and Colin and Betsy arrive, and the awkwardness in that moment and the initial exchange is just so toe-curling and wonderful.
It's so awkward initially.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Oh, it's beautifully done because, you know, been in situations like that. It is very kind of awkward in terms of what you're speaking about. And and of course, with this added tension in this as well, they've both been probably building up to meet each other, probably slagging each other off before they've met them, you know, calling them papes and, you know, talking about the proddies and stuff. And it's, and imagine, call them Sinbad. It's probably been a build-up, and then so there is a little kind of awkwardness and relief. And for me, though, it does show that Colin tells Joe he's never been inside a chapel, but he'd be proud to enter one with him. And then you've got Isa telling Betsy that it's Alec, you know, blaming Alec.
Yeah.
He wants to get married in a chapel. I said it doesn't bother me, but he's adamant. You can see the Protestants don't care and are just going along with it. Like you know, Catholics have kind of manipulated them into getting what they want. And is that a social commentary of the time, or am I stepping on something I shouldn't step on?
No, I don't necessarily. I guess it's how you interpret it. I mean, I interpreted it a wee bit differently in that, you know, Betsy would rather that they got married in the church, but she's like, you know, it'll have to be the chapel because these Catholics are, you know, she says, I'll say one thing from them, they're rigid or whatever, or they're staunch or whatever she says. I can't remember. But going back to what you mentioned earlier about female and male characters in this, for the most part, Colin and Joe, to some extent, probably more so on Joe's side, and maybe because he's getting, the Alison's been persuaded to get married in the chapel. They portray themselves at least as, doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
We just want the kids to be happy. We need to get out of their way, but it's these women, and then when it goes to the women and we see Betsy and Isabel sitting at the table having a drink in the kitchen, they're having the same conversation as the guys. Mm-hmm. And they're having a drink as well. The guys have snuck off to have a drink, because Joe's got a couple of bottles of electric soup stashed on top of the wardrobe. And Isabel and Betsy have gone in the kitchen to make a cup of tea and are sitting having a drink. Right, no cup of tea being made. And Isabel's saying, it's wouldn't bother me where they got married, and Betsy's saying the same thing, and they're sort of pointing towards their husbands as nobody wants to take responsibility for their own, or they don't want to take responsibility for their own prejudice. Outwardly, and you see a wee flash at the wedding dinner when Joe starts singing Danny Boy.
Yes.
In a few of the table. And Colin's got this look in his face where it's almost as though he's kind of come to in a situation that he's really uncomfortable in. You know what I mean? And the only solution is to get even more pissed. because that is pretty much how the adults, I'm putting my quotation fingers up, deal with this situation. They have that awkward moment when they sit down, they talk about Granda and what a poor soul he is, and he only knows one tune in the harmonica or the muthi, and then they go off and get pissed, and then they have the wedding, and they're sitting at the table in the front room, and everybody's fucking getting on it, and and even the aunties, when they're finished talking to Alison, are like, come on, let's go out in there before the men drink all the booze.
Yeah.
Let's go and get a few drinks down us and everything, and when they take Alec and Alison to Auntie Mamie's, to the fucking love nest, and drop them off there, they say they're going away to have a few more drinks. You know what I mean? And it's just, we just need to fucking drink this situation away. Like, alcohol will take the edge off it all, but there's almost a moment when Joe starts singing Danny Boy where guys like, what kind of song is that to sing?
Yeah.
But I don't know what's so offensive about the song Danny Boy. Because it's just that I always thought Danny Boy was like a reference to an Irish guy who's far away from home, who's trying to get home.
I don't know enough about it, to be honest, to go into that. I know
the pipes are calling.
Yeah, I presume it is like a Catholic song because, I don't know, Celtics sing it. Yep. So
I know, but I'm sure I know it's a Catholic song, but I don't see what's offensive about it, unless it's just offensive because it's seen as a Catholic song, because the content of the song sounds like a guy who's homesick for Ireland,
Yeah, I guess. It's not like the Protestants have started singing the Fields of Athenry or something, or
or the Sash or something.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's probably the thing. But yeah, Joe obviously apologises, stops, and then sings "Nobody's Child" instead.
Yeah.
Who would you sing if you were to give a turn at a wedding? Would you sing a song, or would you do a magic trick or something?
I don't know. Maybe I'd do, if I was to sing a traditional song, maybe I would do "Wild Mountain Thyme." That's a nice song.
Yeah,
that's easy. I'm not going to sing it here.
No,
it's an easy one. What about you? Would you tell your joke about the Tourette's guy in the bar? Or?
No, I don't think I would. No, I'd probably go with I don't know, No Limit by Two Unlimited or something.
Yeah,
something easy.
Yeah,
get everyone dancing.
Until some old guy shouts, "What kind of song's that to sing?"
It's Dutch techno, so it is. Yeah, it does show the kind of adults. You're right; they're arguing, so they get pissed, and then of course it cuts to the kids who are arguing, and that scene to me really did just show, as you said, a young Brian Pettiford, they're arguing about politics, which stems from religion. It really does influence every part of your life in terms of that. And I'm thinking, well, that's just ridiculous. And then I thought back to when I was at school. And of course, being from Aberdeen, we don't have like a religious divide. There was nothing, Aberdeen's not really a religious city. Most of the churches are now pubs. But what kind of divided you at school? And I guess you probably found similar. It was your taste in music. And it did influence everything. Like the ravers at my school, who listened to dance music and stuff, they smoked Regal and they wore Kickers shoes and they wore like Adidas jumpers. Whereas the smellies, which I was, we smoked Marlboro and wore DMs and wore fucking Pearl Jam and Nirvana t-shirts with tartan shirts over the top. Like, you all had, I couldn't wear kickers or smoke Regal. Be like, well, why are you doing that? Are you a raver now? No. But it was kind of the part. I wouldn't smoke Regal anyway, but that's just the divide. So I guess that it's a tribal thing, I guess, a religious thing.
Yeah, I mean, but when I was at school in Glasgow, in Bishopbriggs, she's just at sort of in Glasgow, but just outside Glasgow, depending on who you speak to. And I went to a Protestant school, and at our school, there was, because we were in Bishopbriggs, there was a lot of like Asian kids. There was a lot of Indian and Pakistani kids, some Chinese kids, but predominantly white. But my cousins went to, I went to Woodhill Primary. My cousins went to St Helens, and I was close with and I still am close with my cousins Derek and Stuart, because we're close in age and we're wee boys together and everything, and their dad is Catholic and they went to St Helens, support Celtic and everything else. But I would often go, because it was just my mum and I would often go to my Auntie Isa's, because she lived in Bishopbriggs and we lived in Royston, so I would often go to my Auntie Isa's after school. And I would sometimes go in, because we seemed to get out a wee bit earlier than St Helens for whatever reason, because usually by the time I got there, the kids were just coming out, and I would wait for Derek and Stuart, and we'd walk the rest of the way together. I can honestly say, never had any kind of grief, because kids are kids, right? And like it wasn't, nobody, and we were in school uniforms, so it wasn't like I was inconspicuous or anything, you know what I mean? Like I was wearing my Woodhill uniform, and they were all in their St Helens uniforms. Like not once did any kids ever give me any grief at all, and me and Derek and Stuart would walk home together. So I think I'm not saying that it was, it wasn't quite as big a thing in the early and mid 80s as it maybe was at the time that this was made. Because I think in some parts of Glasgow, probably like in the East End of Glasgow and kind of Govan in the south and stuff like that, it probably was still a divisive situation, but I didn't have any experience of it at all. Like if my cousins were going to give me a hard time, it was because I was sort of a default Rangers fan, because that's what my grandfather and my father supported that team, and their dad was a big Celtic fan and took the boys to Parkhead from when they were wee, and so they were big Celtic fans, you know what I mean? And depending on whichever side of the old firm was going through a good run of form, one of us would roast the other until, I don't know, it just seemed, to me anyway, it just got less and less and less important, to the point where I couldn't be fucking less interested in either team now, But I don't know. I mean, I think it's still part of life, and particularly Glasgow, and somewhat for some communities, and we still get the orange walk in Glasgow in the summer. You know what I mean? Which just seems mad to me. And I think they still have the Hibernian walk as well and stuff like that. I just never, I wouldn't judge anybody for it, but I don't understand it.
Yeah,
I don't get it. It seems so old fashioned and irrelevant now. I've got a lot more to worry about.
Did I miss something, or did something go over my head? When they're having the reception at the flat and Joe is giving his speech, he has his hand bandaged, and he says that someone stood in his hand on the way back from the pub.
Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah.
But then the guy who objects to Danny Boy also has a bandage on his hand.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Now, there must be something there. That's not a coincidence or something, is it? Or are we meant to allude, I don't know, if they had a scrap or something, or I don't know. Or is it just a coincidence?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that the other guy with the bandage in his hand, I didn't feel like that was related to, I thought Joe was just telling a joke, and this guy's got a bandage in his hand because, the production really wants to emphasise the fact that these are real working class Greenock people, you know what I mean? And this is a guy who likes a drink, and he's probably either hurt his hand in his fucking hard job on the river, on the shipyards, or he's hurt it in the pub getting into a fight with somebody or something, Just a little attention. I just wondered, because I just thought it was a strange little detail that I'd noticed there. Yeah.
So David Hayman as Alec, we haven't really spoken much about him, because he's not really in it that much. So He's 23, he's a sailor, Sinbad. He's off in the ships, knocks up Alison, marries her, and then buggers off back on the boats again.
The thing that struck me the most about David Hayman in this, because I mentioned before, I met David Hayman and he's not a tall man. Yeah, I would say I'm kind of maybe just above average height.
Yeah.
Like 6'1" or something. But David Hayman seemed quite small to me. In this production, he's like a fucking giant.
Yeah.
He's, he seems taller than everybody apart from maybe Gerry Slevin.
Yeah.
But, then the scene with Joe, like he's a lot taller than Joe. And it did make me think, is he standing on something to make him seem taller? Because obviously it feels like McDougall and the director want to give us the impression that Alec is the man of the house.
Yeah.
He's there getting his smart gear on for a night out. He's got money in his pocket because he goes to sea and everything. You've got his dad kind of tapping money off him. I don't think that scene would have worked if they had been at eye level with each other, or if Joe Joseph had been a wee bit taller than him. I think Hayman has to be taller in that scene. But then when you see them all together, when he brings Alison and Betsy and Colin over to meet his mum and dad, he still seems quite tall. I don't know if they've fucked about with the perception and made people stand a bit further behind them or something like that, but he seems really tall.
He certainly does, yeah. It's very true, because David Hayman isn't the tallest. So, I don't know what they've done there. But you're right. I guess he has to be an imposing figure as he is the man of the house. And you're right, he is kind of in charge. So he is going to go back on the boats after the wedding to get money for a deposit. And, you think, okay, that's fair enough. But then it turns out he's going to be away 7 months. And you're like, right, so he's going to miss the whole pregnancy. And then we kind of find out at the end that he's been back. He's been spotted out at the dancing, but then he's gone away again on the boats. Because I guess he just can't be arsed with this. It's not the life for him. He's a bit of a dick, really, isn't he, Alec? A bit of a cad.
Yeah. And he gets absolutely annihilated at his own wedding. Now, you and I have both had weddings. And, there was... And it didn't even have to be spoken about beforehand. And when I got married, those were the days when we all of us really liked to fucking drink, among other things. But it didn't even have to be sort of said, Greg, do not get steaming at your own wedding. I think I only had maybe all day, maybe 4 or 5 drinks the entire day at my wedding.
Yeah, it's not really the done thing, is it? There's that famous clip that always goes round, I think it's on Instagram or something. It's the mother-in-law feeding the groom sandwiches because he's absolutely mortaled. But yeah, Alec does get absolutely shit-faced at the wedding, so much so that his father and his new father-in-law have to carry him to the love nest. And he just lies there snoring and
take his trousers off for him.
Yeah, poor Alison has to take his socks off. So, I mean, the funny thing is, she'd have been better off with Duncan. And I know, our mother says this as well, because Duncan's obviously on an upward trajectory. He's signed for Manchester. We'll presume it's United. Just to hear that on the TV at the end. He gets his first Scotland cap. It has to be a kick in the balls. But then you think, back in the early 70s, Alec was probably making more money on the boats than Duncan was playing for Man United, you would think.
Well, did I say that he transferred in a £150,000 deal or something like that?
Yes, they do, yeah.
But I mean, that would be what the club paid for him, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, it would be, yeah.
Yeah, I know I did watch a documentary about Jimmy Hill, and I know that most people in Scotland of a certain age have no time for Jimmy Hill because he was very pro-England as a pundit. But when he was the manager, when he was a player and then was manager for Coventry, by all accounts, he did really do a lot for players' wages in the first division, as it was in England, because he felt that players weren't getting paid enough to sort of set themselves up, when they went beyond their effectiveness as a player, because a lot of these guys would end up going back into jobs when they'd be back then. They'd go back to their trade if they had one, or end up doing some shitty labouring job or whatever. It wasn't really until you got the guys like George Best and all that were making a lot of money through sponsorships and stuff,
No, Tartan Army has no time for Jimmy Hill. We did have a famous song about him, of course, which I'm not going to... It
just came to my mind there. I've not thought about it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it brought a big smile to my face.
Simple but effective.
Did you look at that one I sent of the football chants?
I did, yeah.
I saw on Instagram the other week. The first couple are really quite funny. It kind of, they sort of blow themselves out toward the end, but the first couple really made me chuckle.
I mean, because he's got limited lines in this, of course, Hayman, and he's not even allowed to give a speech at his own wedding. His mum tells him to sit down. Everybody's talked now. Everybody's spoken. So poor guy, he's like, well, fair enough. I'll just get pished instead, I guess.
Yeah, well, he does have the line when he's getting walked across the back green and he's shouting and bawling and that, and he tells him to be quiet. He's like, I'm no scared of they bastards, or I'm no feared for they bastards, I think he says.
But you're right. I mean, there is a lot of alcohol consumed over the course of this hour and a lot of drunk acting, but it's Isa and Joe pished doing the gay Gordons in the lounge is absolutely fucking brilliant. Like, I just was in hysterics at that. It's the party's kind of ending, everyone's really gone, but they're still pished doing the gay Gordons in the middle of the lounge. And then Joe says, I'm done with the jigging. It's like, it's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
The other thing about this is that I don't think 30 seconds goes by without somebody lighting up in a scene. I feel like Eileen McCallum's got a fag between her fingers the whole time, or she's just lighting up. Colin's always got a fucking fag burning between his fingers. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just constant. And I was wondering to myself, would they just been smoking proper fags? Because when I was a kid, it seemed like everybody smoked.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think probably. I mean, towards the end, like when the baby has arrived and Mary Riggans is dealing with the baby and Alison's on the sofa, she's watching TV with a fag, smoke in front of the bear, and it's fine. But I mean,
and all over it.
Yes, and all over it. But you're right, and that is a wonderful part as well, where Colin can't find his lighter and then just grabs the candle that is on the mantelpiece under the picture of Jesus and lights his fag off it. To show his absolute disdain at this situation is just fucking wonderful. But
I couldn't work out if it was to show if it was like a passive aggressive move or just he's completely ignorant to the situation. It's not. I guess you can take it any way you want, but I mean, either way, it's really effective. Yeah,
I did think it was probably just ignorance, like he's not realising that this is an important thing that is here. But he's just lighting his fag from it. It's brilliant. So well done. And then for him to come back in the room pished after the electric soup and the scene where he thinks Jesus' eyes are following him all round the room, and the brilliant line, oh God, I thought I was nearly converted. It was, and they all laugh, so it's fine. It's okay. I mean, because they're all pished. But
breaks the ice to some extent.
Guy up there in the red nightdress.
God, no, here. Oh, no, come here, Cole. Come here, I'll show you. You see, those eyes are set in such a way that wherever you are, they follow you. You understand?
You mean you can't escape them?
I was nearly converted.
Oh, sit down, idiot.
I just love Joe. I mean, it's such a male thing to do that it's sort of like, because we've all been in situations where, maybe we've gone and met a couple and maybe the girls are friends, right? Our wives / get friends, and we're meeting the guy for the first time, and it's a bit awkward, you know what I mean? But if one of you can say, here, come here a minute, I just want to show you something.
Yeah.
And then, you find a wee cheeky can. Bought the wine off the top of the wardrobe. That Joe understands that's probably the best way to bond with Colin, because you get the expression that maybe Joe realises that as much as Colin's a prod, they've probably got more in common than maybe the women would be willing to admit they have in common. You know what I mean? And the way that the way that Colin's like face and eyes light up when Joe produces this bottle. It's, it's like sitting on the edge of the bed there.
And that's it. And then they just have a drink in secret and put the world to rights. But then that's the beautiful part when it cuts to the women and they're doing exactly the same. And just to show that religions are equal and men and women are equal and we're all the same, really. It's just slightly different beliefs. But
that's the thing. Can I come back to what I said earlier on? Like, they're all two sides of the same coin. And I mean, I kind of feel that way about sort of Church of Scotland / Church of England in Catholicism. It's not like these people are worshipping an entirely different God. Like, the interpretation, because I got sent to a Roman Catholic high school when we lived in Barrow-in-Furness, and we had to do some New Testament stuff and all that. And I know that Catholics tend to focus on the New Testament more than Protestants do. But, fundamentally, the story of the New Testament is the same in a fucking Church of England Bible as it is in a Roman Catholic Bible. Right, the story of Jesus and all that kind of thing. It's exactly the same. It's just all from the different perspectives of the different apostles. You know what I mean? So I've always found it a bit strange that, because like they don't really disagree over religion. They disagree over history.
Yeah.
And like, Northern Ireland and kind of how Catholics were persecuted by English landowners back when Henry VIII was in power and all that kind of thing. That and like William of Orange and everything. That's really what, and now more recently Rangers and Celtic. That's really what it's about. Yeah. It's not about, they don't disagree on religion because they worship the same fucking God. You know what I mean? Fucking silly bastard.
When Alec, I mean, the wedding's over, Alec's away back in the boats, but Alison stays with Isa and Joe rather than, why?
Well, I think that's probably tradition, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a traditional thing. But she seems to end up back at her Betsy and Collins, though, doesn't she?
Well, because you could tell that, it fast forwards a few months, obviously Alison's heavily pregnant, and Isa's had her fucking fill with her, like, and doesn't hold back in the venom that she's spouting.
No.
She's obviously saying it so she can hear. And it's really a horrible scene to watch, like berating her that all she does is just sit in that room. Yeah, because she's fucking 8-9 months pregnant. What'd you expect?
Yeah, and uncomfortable in a strange house with strange people because they get married, 2 or 3 weeks after the parents have met.
Yeah.
Which we're given the impression that happens pretty soon after Alison announces the fact that she's become pregnant and everything.
And that's, when the venom comes out with, like, Isa saying, she's no one of us. And that's it. It doesn't matter. She is your daughter-in-law. She's about to give birth to your grandchild, but she's no one of us because she's a Protestant. So it can't be, you can't accept. And it's terrible. But you're right. Yeah, she does obviously go back home so that her mum can look after the baby, because I'd imagine Isa's like, nah, no chance of that. I'm looking after that. Yeah,
exactly. Whereas Mary Riggans seems quite... But the thing is as well, there seems to be... And again, I wonder if this is maybe a bit of sly stereotyping, but there seems to be a lot of kids in Alec's house, like ranging from Alec, who's obviously the oldest, down to some like really young kids. Doesn't seem to be as many kids in Colin and Betsy's house. You know what I mean? So, Betsy seems, I don't know, maybe more disposed and I don't want to say happier, but she seems quite enthusiastic in the way she's putting the nappy on the baby and getting it out the basin and everything else.
Yeah, seems delighted.
Whereas Isabel's always, you'll eat it and you'll like it. And even when one of the kids runs past her into the close early on, she sort of slaps him on the back as he runs in, as if to say, get in there, and so because I think there would be a stereotype of Catholics that because they traditionally they can't use contraception, so they just have hundreds and hundreds of kids, you know what I mean?
That's what I presumed it was, Greg. Yes, why there were so many children in that flat. But Colin and Betsy's, you see like one other kid, I think.
Maybe one.
But I presume there's maybe more. I don't know, but not quite as many. But I presumed it was the contraception that was the reason.
So is it time to put just your luck through our Swally Awards?
Let's do it, Greg.
Okay, so our awards don't lend themselves to as much in this as perhaps other productions we've done. But I'll start off. Normally we would have the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub, but as you pointed out, all the scene, it's obviously the same stage and they've just dressed it to look like Isabel and Joe's flat for some scenes and
Yeah.
Betsy and Collins for others and Auntie Mamie's love nest. But the best pub in it appears to be the bedroom where Joe and Alec have got the bottles of wine. So next then, the next award is the Jake McQuillan Your Tea-Zoot Award. So there is an obvious one, but I didn't feel great about awarding an award to it. Did you find anything else?
No, I put no award. I did say, obviously, Riggans gets a slap from Slevin, but no. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting that in. So no, I didn't put anything for Tea-Zoot.
Yeah. Next award then would be the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous language. Obviously, BBC, early 70s, I think they go as far as they can. There's one or two bastards. There's at least one bitch. There's one point when Alec calls his dad a shitter when he goes to the pub. But otherwise, it's fairly tame.
Yeah, I did laugh out loud, and I did put when Alec is going to the pub and he says to his dad, "Shut your shitter, I'm going for a drink." And I just loved "shut your shitter." Fucking brilliant.
Yeah. Have a nice time, son.
Yeah.
Next award is the Hugh McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. I don't think there's anybody that would want to see with their clothes off.
No.
And just your luck, even Boobarella. So the next award then is the archetypal Scottish moment.
I sidestepped teenage pregnancy this time, and I went for a scramble at a wedding.
Oh, I went for getting pumped up a close. I'm sure there's many of us that could probably point to the tenement stairs as the moment of her conception. Well, I don't know, but I couldn't say that about myself, but I don't think so anyway. Sure, plenty of people could. Yeah, but, I guess other sort of mentions are some of the expressions. We've said a few already. Your bum's out the windy, for example. It's quite a Scottish expression. Go shite in a poke is perhaps more of the more, sort of rarer ones. I don't doubt that it's been uttered many a time.
Yeah.
If Peter McDougall's putting it in the mouths of his characters. And then lastly then is the Big Tam Award. Who wins Just Your Luck for you?
I gave it to Eileen McCallum and Mary Riggans, because I kind of couldn't pick. I mean, to be fair, it's probably Eileen McCallum overall, but I thought Mary Riggans does have a couple of great lines, and a lot of the scenes they have together is great. If I was forced to just pick one, I'd pick Eileen McCallum. No.
Okay. Well, I went for Gerry Slevin, and the reason being that there's a few moments in this when he kind of conveys that. We mentioned it earlier on, but that kind of the sort of internal struggle. You know, that he's maybe feeling within himself, in the sense that at best he is incredibly uncomfortable with this Catholic family that he needs to now be attached to.
Yeah.
At worst, he is antagonistic towards them, at least internally. And, there's that moment that I mentioned earlier when he's sitting at the table and Joe starts singing Danny Boy, and, the camera just sort of sits with him for a minute, and he's got the ubiquitous fucking cigarette between his fingers. He's obviously welling his cups, and he doesn't say anything, but you can tell that, this is a situation that he never thought he would find himself in. That first scene with him and Mary Riggans, where she reminds him of some of the more sectarian things that he'd said in the past, and he says, I was drunk when I said that kind of thing. But I do still think that he wants to, or he thinks that he wants only the best for his oldest daughter.
Yeah.
And for her to be happy and everything else, he talks about education and inadvertently sort of slags off Catholic schools, because he's like, they don't get as good as an education because the church funds the Catholic schools, whereas Proddy schools, they're funded by the government, so there's more money, the education's better.
Yeah.
That's all I'm meaning, that's all I'm concerned about. It's just education. I value education. You know what I mean? He's sort of scrambling to try and be progressive in some moments, but you can see that he's kind of weighed down with this sort of probably ingrained sectarian attitude that he's no doubt been raised to have towards Catholics, that his father, his grandfather, going back generations, probably exactly the same. And I just think he's subtle, you know what I mean? He doesn't vocalise it, but I just feel that he's really subtle in how he kind of projects it.
Yeah.
So he was the one that I enjoyed. And he's a striking looking guy, Gerry Slevin, as well. You know what I mean? He's got a great face, you know?
No, I agree with everything you've said there. Yeah, I think he delivers a great performance. He's, very, very good in this. And I think, very good.
Yep. Okay, so that's Just Your Luck. As I mentioned at the start of the pod, you can find it quite easily on YouTube. Definitely worth an hour if you like couthy Scottish drama from the 1970s like we do. And it was my choice, Just Your Luck, which means that it comes back to you to choose what we're watching for the next episode.
Thank you very much, Greg. Well, the next episode will be out on the 2nd of October, but we have 3 episodes that month. So the next 2 will be the Swally Spooktacular. So I haven't picked something with Swally Spooktacular, but what I'm picking does have a scary name. So we first learned about this from one of its stars himself, Greg, and it's about time that we covered it on the Swally. When couple Martin and Rebecca relocate their kids from London to Glasgow, neighbour Jan's unsettling remarks hint at a sinister situation unfolding around their new home. Starring Martin Compston, Anjali Mohindra, Solly McLeod, and Sir James Cosmo. It is the 2025 Amazon Prime 3-part drama, and it is called Fear.
Oh, brilliant. We've been looking for a reason to watch this for ages.
I didn't know, and I just thought it's the perfect time. Fear.
Yeah.
Halloween's round the corner. It's time to get fearful. So 2025's Fear. And we learnt about that from the great man himself. He told us all about it. Well, he said he was doing it anyway, but never mind.
In his birthday greeting to my good self, arranged by your good self.
Indeed. Wonderful. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please give us a little rate, review, subscribe, wherever you get your podcast. It does help the podcast. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us, cultureswally@gmail.com, with anything you've seen in the news or anything you'd like us to cover. Or if you just want to say hello, you can follow us on the socials. We're on Insta @cultureswallypod. And we have a wonderful website as well, don't we, Greg?
Yep, all freshly updated as well. I had been neglecting it a little bit for a few weeks, but it's all up to date now. Links to all their episodes, and you can contact us through the podcast as well. There's links to our socials there, and there's also some blog posts about Sean Connery, Scottish TV, and a feature as we're going into October in the spooky season. If you've not read it already, we've got a wee feature all about Scottish horror. So maybe give us a read. Send a bit of traffic to the website. Maybe somebody will pay us to put an advert on it one day.
Maybe. We'll see. Wonderful. Well, we are recording this on Monday. Oh, I need to pause that. Steve Clark's talking. Monday, the 8th of September. Scotland are about to play Belarus in a couple of hours, Greg. I presume you won't be staying up to watch it because it'll be a bit late for you.
Won't.
No,
it's a bit late. Yeah, anything after 10 o'clock is a bit late for me these days, mate. No matter what day of the week it is.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Yeah. I'll see. I'll watch the first half, see how it goes, and then probably go to bed. So never mind. We shall see. Yeah. Wonderful. Right. Well, have a lovely week, and until next time.
No, our fault. You never asked her to come here. It was Alec. I mean, she doesn't belong here. Doesn't know us. We don't know her. We're supposed to know if we're going to like her. We're just no one of us. What our own mother put up with.